The rain-slicked alley in the Castro district reeked of garbage and regret, but Ethan Hale didn't notice as the first punch landed square on his jaw, splitting the night open like a thunderclap. "Faggot!" The slur exploded from the shadows, followed by the crack of knuckles against bone, and Ethan stumbled back against the brick wall, tasting copper and betrayal, Logan's hand still warm in his from the kiss they'd stolen outside the bar just seconds ago. He hit the ground hard, the world tilting into a blur of boots and hatred, and in that instant, as the blood pooled beneath him, Ethan realized the man he loved had vanished into the crowd, leaving him to face the storm alone. Ethan's lungs burned like they'd been scraped raw with sandpaper, each breath a ragged gasp that echoed off the graffiti-scarred walls of the alley. The three attackers, big guys in faded hoodies, faces twisted into masks of booze-fueled rage, circled him like wolves scenting weakness. It had started so innocently. A Friday night in San Francisco's beating gay heart, the Castro alive with rainbow flags whipping in the wind and laughter spilling from dive bars. Ethan and Logan had been celebrating their third anniversary, fingers intertwined as they walked arm in arm down Castro Street, the neon glow of storefronts painting their world in electric pinks and blues. Logan, with his easy grin and sun-kissed surfer hair, had pulled Ethan into that shadowed alley for a quick, heated kiss, nothing more than a promise of the night ahead. But someone had seen. Someone always did. "You think you can just flaunt that shit here?" The leader snarled, his breath hot and sour with cheap whiskey. He was the tallest, built like a linebacker gone to seed, with a tattoo snaking up his neck that looked like a poorly inked eagle. Ethan's vision swam as he pushed himself up on scraped palms, his mind screaming Logan's name like a lifeline. Where was he? Logan had been right there, murmuring against Ethan's lips about ditching the bar for their tiny Mission District apartment, where they'd crack open that bottle of Napa Valley Cabernet and lose themselves in sheets that still smelled like last weekend's lazy morning. But now, Logan was gone, swallowed by the throng of barhoppers who'd scattered at the first shout. Ethan spat blood onto the wet pavement, the red mixing with puddles that reflected the distant flicker of streetlights. "Back off," he managed, voice steady despite the tremor in his legs. He'd grown up in the suburbs of Seattle, where being gay meant whispers and side eyes, but San Francisco had been his salvation, a city that wore its queerness like a badge, where pride parades shut down highways and marriage equality wasn't a fight but a fact. At 25, Ethan had carved out a life here, a junior copywriter gig at a boutique ad firm in Soma, brunches with his found family of drag queens and baristas, and Logan, the 27-year-old graphic designer who'd crashed into his world at a gallery opening 2 years back. All charm and chaos. The second guy lunged, grabbing Ethan's collar and slamming him back against the wall. Pain exploded in his ribs, sharp and white-hot, but Ethan twisted, knee driving up into the man's gut. A guttural oof escaped the attacker, and he staggered back, clutching his side. That's when it escalated, really escalated. The leader roared, charging like a bull, and Ethan dodged, his hand fumbling for anything, everything. His fingers closed around a loose brick from the crumbling wall, jagged and cold. He swung it wildly, not aiming, just surviving, and it connected with a sickening thud against the leader's temple. The man crumpled, head cracking against the asphalt. Blood. Oh God. Blood seeping from the gash. The other two froze, eyes wide in the alley's gloom. "You fucking killed him," one screamed, voice cracking like a teenager's. Ethan dropped the brick, horror flooding him colder than the rain. He hadn't meant. Jesus, he hadn't meant to. It was self-defense, pure and primal, but the word killed hung in the air like a guillotine. Sirens wailed in the distance, drawn by the shouts, and Ethan bolted, legs pumping as he burst back onto Castro Street. People blurred past, tourists with selfie sticks, locals nursing cocktails, and he collapsed against a lamppost, chest heaving, dialing Logan's number with blood-smeared fingers. The line rang once, twice, then voicemail. "Babe, it's me. Something bad alley behind Twin Peaks Tavern. Come get me. Please." He slid down the pole, the world narrowing to the throb in his jaw and the sticky warmth trickling down his temple. Footsteps approached, heavy and official, and before he could stand, rough hands yanked him up. "Hands where I can see 'em, kid." The cop's flashlight blinded him, badge glinting under the streetlight. Ethan blinked, words tumbling out in a frantic rush. The kiss, the slurs, the punches, the brick. Self-defense. He kept repeating it like a mantra. But as the cuffs clicked around his wrists, cold metal biting into bruised skin, Ethan scanned the crowd for Logan's familiar silhouette. Nothing. Just stranger stares, pity mixed with suspicion, and the relentless patter of rain washing his tears into the gutter. The holding cell at the mission station smelled like bleach and despair, a concrete box where time stretched like taffy. Ethan sat on the bench, knees drawn to his chest, replaying the night in fractured loops. His phone, confiscated, had been his only tether, and now he was adrift, alone with the echoes of his own ragged breaths. The cops had been polite enough at first, the younger one with the buzz cut even offering a styrofoam cup of water that tasted like rust. But as they took his statement, doubt crept in like fog off the bay. "So, you say these guys jumped you out of nowhere?" Detective Ramirez asked, her pen scratching across a notepad in the interrogation room. She was mid-40s, sharp-eyed, with a no-nonsense bun that screamed, "I've seen it all." Ethan nodded, wincing as the motion tugged at his split lip. "Yeah. We were just walking, Logan and me. They came from the alley, yelling shit. Homophobic crap. I fought back because I had to." Ramirez leaned back, crossing her arms. "And your boyfriend? Where's he at during all this?" Ethan's stomach twisted. Logan still hadn't called, hadn't shown. He got separated in the crowd, I think. He's probably freaking out, trying to find me. She exchanged a glance with her partner, a burly guy named Kowalski who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. "We found the complainant in the alley. Bad shape, concussion at least, possible skull fracture. He's got a record, bar fights, DUIs. But you're the one holding the brick, Ethan. And witnesses? Zip. Just you, running from the scene." "I wasn't running. I was scared." Ethan's voice cracked, the words spilling out desperate and raw. He told them everything. The anniversary dinner at a hole-in-the-wall taqueria, the way Logan's laugh had lit up the room like fireworks, the stolen kiss that tasted like forever, the sudden violence that shattered it all. He described the attackers in detail, the eagle tattoo, the one with the crooked nose, the skinny kid who'd hung back yelling encouragements. But Ramirez just nodded, her expression unchanging, like he'd recited the weather report. By dawn, they charged him. Assault with a deadly weapon, felony count that could land him years if it stuck. Bail was set at $50,000. a number that might as well have been 1,000,000. Ethan called his sister from the payphone, her voice breaking across the line from Seattle. "Oh God. What happened?" "Mom's booking a flight." He couldn't bring himself to call Logan again. Pride or fear? He wasn't sure which. The arraignment was a blur of fluorescent lights and legalese. Ethan in an ill-fitting orange jumpsuit that made him feel like a ghost of himself. His public defender, a harried woman named Ms. Patel, assured him it was routine, but her eyes said otherwise. Self-defense is tricky without corroboration. "Where's your boyfriend?" He could testify. "I don't know," Ethan whispered, the lie bitter on his tongue. He did know, or at least, he prayed Logan was holed up in their apartment, scrolling frantic texts, piecing together the nightmare from news alerts. But as the judge banged the gavel and Ethan was led away, a new fear gnawed at him. What if Logan believed the headlines? Local man assaults trio in gay district brawl, victim fights for life. Back in the cell block, Ethan curled into the thin mattress, the concrete floor leaching warmth from his bones. Memories flooded and unbidden. The first time Logan had said, "I love you," whispered against Ethan's collarbone in a Golden Gate Park tent during Folsom Street Fair weekend. The quiet nights coding side by side on their sagging couch, takeout cartons forgotten as they lost hours to each other's touch. Logan, with his freckles like constellations and hands that knew every curve of Ethan's body, had been his anchor in a city of transients. They'd talked marriage, kids maybe one day via surrogate, a fixer-upper in no valley with a garden for tomatoes. Dreams, fragile as sea glass. A guard's voice cut through the haze. "Hail, visitor." Ethan's heart leaped. Logan. It had to be. He shuffled into the visiting room, plexiglass divider smudged with fingerprints. And there he was, Logan Whitaker, looking like hell in a rumpled button-down, eyes red-rimmed and shadowed. Relief crashed over Ethan like a wave, but it ebbed fast when Logan wouldn't meet his gaze. "Babe." Ethan pressed the receiver to his ear, voice thick. "Thank God. Tell me you saw it. Tell me you know I'm innocent." Logan's jaw worked, knuckles white around the phone. I did see some of it. The yelling. Yeah. But Ethan, they said you hit him with a brick. He's in the ICU. Man. His family's outside the station, screaming for justice. Ethan's world tilted again. "What? No, Logan. Listen. They jumped us." Slurs. Punches. I had no choice. "You were there." "I got pushed back," Logan muttered, eyes darting to the guard. "People everywhere. By the time I turned around, you were swinging. And fuck, the cops pulled me aside last night. Asked if we'd been drinking, fighting. I told them the truth, we'd had a couple beers. But they kept pushing. Said it looked like a lover's quarrel gone wrong. That maybe you lashed out at them thinking they were, I don't know, intruders or something." Ethan's breath hitched, a sob clawing up his throat. "You think I'd?" "Logan, it's me. 3 years. Remember? The tattoo on your rib. Always. That's real." Logan's face crumpled, tears spilling. "I know. God, I know. But the media's all over it, painting you as the aggressor. My boss called, clients are asking questions. And you're firm. They're putting you on leave pending investigation." "I can't." "Can't what?" Ethan's voice rose, drawing stares. "Be here? Fight for me." "I need time," Logan whispered, standing abruptly. "To figure this out." I love you. But this, it's too much. He hung up the receiver, walking away without looking back, leaving Ethan with the dial tone's hollow buzz and a chasm widening in his chest. Days bled into weeks, the jail's rhythm a monotonous grind of chow lines and lockdown. Ethan's bruises faded to yellow ghosts, but the ache inside festered. Letters from his sister propped him up, pages filled with Mom's recipes and promises of home-cooked meals upon release. But Logan's silence was a blade, twisting deeper with each unanswered call. Ms. Patel visited twice, her updates grim. The prosecutor was pushing hard. The victim, now identified as Derek Harlan, 32, ex-con with a history of hate crimes, ironically, unconscious but stable. No witnesses had come forward, and the alley's lone security cam had been malfunctioning, per the report. You're looking at 5 to 10 if it goes to trial, Patel said one gray afternoon, flipping through files. Plea down to misdemeanor assault? Maybe probation. No, Ethan said, chin lifting. I'm not pleading to something I didn't start. There has to be someone, anyone, who saw. Patel sighed, packing her briefcase. In this city, people see everything and say nothing. Self-preservation. Kid. But Ethan clung to hope like a life raft, scribbling letters to Logan he never sent, words pouring out in the dim light of his bunk. I miss your coffee breath in the morning, the way you hum off-key to Fleetwood Mac. Come back to me. He dreamed of them on the rooftop of their building, city lights sprawling below, Logan's head on his shoulder as they watched fog roll in. Waking to bars on the window shattered him anew. Then, fracture. A rumor rippled through the block, guards whispering about a plea deal twist. Ethan cornered Kowalski during yard time, the chain-link fence separating them like fate's cruel joke. What's going on? They dropping charges. Kowalski shifted, uncomfortable. Nah. But your boy's talking to the DA. Might testify against you. The world went silent, save for the distant clang of gates. Logan, testifying against him, wouldn't be. But doubt seeded, sprouting thorns. That night, Ethan punched the mattress until his knuckles bled. Rage and grief a toxic brew. Betrayal tasted worse than blood. The preliminary hearing loomed like a storm cloud, the courthouse in Civic Center a hive of suited sharks and teary families. Ethan, in ill-fitting civvies borrowed from a fellow inmate, sat ramrod straight beside Patel, chain around his ankle clinking like a death knell. The gallery was sparse. His mom and sister in the front row, faces etched with exhaustion. A cluster of reporters tapping on phones, and, heart-stutteringly, Logan in the back, pale as ash, avoiding Ethan's eyes. Prosecutor Hale, irony's bitter pill, painted Ethan as the villain. A privileged millennial, buzzed on craft IPAs, escalating a minor scuffle into near murder. The defendant fled the scene, she intoned, voice silk over steel, leaving Mr. Harlan to bleed out alone. Exhibits flashed. Crime scene photos blurred for court. Thank God. The brick bagged like evidence of Ethan's soul. Ms. Patel countered feebly. Character witnesses from Ethan's job, vouching for his gentle nature. Stats on hate crimes in the Castro, up 20% post-pandemic. But it rang hollow without the golden ticket, a eyewitness. Then, the bombshell. The prosecution calls Logan Whitaker. Ethan's blood turned to ice. Logan shuffled to the stand, sworn in with trembling hands, his usual surfer swagger replaced by a haunted slump. Under Hale's gentle prodding, He recounted the night, the bar, the walk, the kiss. "We were happy," he said, voice cracking. "Celebrating. And then," Hale prompted. Logan swallowed, eyes flicking to Ethan, finally meeting them, brimming with apology and something darker, like shame. "We ducked into the alley. I heard voices, angry ones. Ethan." He pushed me away, said, "Stay back." Next thing, shouting. I tried to pull him off, but he was wild, swinging that brick. Derek, the guy, he didn't even touch him first. It was like Ethan snapped. Gasps rippled through the room. Ethan's mom stifled a sob. His sister gripped her hand. Patel objected furiously. Hearsay, badgering. But the judge allowed it, the damage blooming like ink in water. Logan was lying. Or worse, believing his own revisionist history, warped by fear, by the DA's whispers of immunity deals or asset freezes. Betrayal landed like the brick had on Derek. Thud, crack, shatter. "Why?" Ethan mouthed across the room, tears blurring Logan's form. But Logan looked away, the receiver from their last call echoing in Ethan's mind. "I need time. Time to sell him out. Apparently." Cross-examination was a mercy killing. Patel hammered gently. "Mr. Whitaker, you told police that night you got separated. Now it's you intervening? Which is it?" Logan fidgeted, sweat beading on his brow. I was scared. It's all fuzzy. But I saw Ethan hit him hard. The judge called recess, and as deputies led Ethan out, their eyes locked one last time. Logan's lips formed a silent sorry, but it was too late. The chasm had become an abyss. In the holding pen, Ethan vomited bile into the sink, the betrayal corroding him from the inside. His mom visited post-recess, pressing her palm to the glass. "He's scared, honey. People crack under pressure. But we'll fight this. We." Ethan laughed. Hollow. "He just buried me, Mom." For what? His job? His freedom? She'd flown in from Seattle, her practical bob haircut grayer at the temples, bearing Tupperware of lasagna that now sat uneaten in his cell. She believed him, always had, even when his coming out at 16 had fractured their conservative cul-de-sac. But belief from family wasn't enough. It was Logan's absence that gutted him, the man who'd traced mine on his skin now etching lies into the record. Trial prep dragged into a fever dream of depositions and motions. Derek Harlan woke from his coma, raspy-voiced accusations from his hospital bed via video link. That queer came at us swinging. Me and my boys were just talking trash. His boys. The crooked-nosed enablers, corroborated, painting a tale of unprovoked queer rage. The press ate it up. Castro assault, self-defense or hate reversal. Ethan's face splashed across Bay Area rags, his ad firm issuing a tepid statement of support during this difficult time that smelled like severance. Logan vanished after his testimony. Phone disconnected. Apartment sublet per a mutual friend's text. Ethan's sister forwarded mail. Bills in Logan's name. A returned engagement ring Ethan had hidden in a drawer months back, unopened. The note inside, "Forever's too long for this mess. Forgive me." Ethan burned it in the jail yard incinerator, ashes scattering like his trust. Yet amid the wreckage, flickers of light, a support group for LGBTQ inmates, where grizzled men shared stories of survival, their laughter a balm. Big Mike, a bear of a guy doing time for a bar brawl gone wrong, became Ethan's confessor. Love's a motherfucker. Kid, Mike rumbled over checkers. Twists you till you don't recognize yourself. But you're steel. Don't let him rust you. Mike's words armored Ethan for trial. 2 months later in the same stuffy courtroom, now packed with activists waving signs. Justice for Ethan, end queer bashing. The Castro community had rallied. Petitions circulating online. Hashtags trending. But as opening arguments unfolded, Hale's narrative stuck. Ethan, the aggressor, turning the tables on straight victims in a city overrun by agenda. Ethan took the stand on day 3, voice steady as he relived the horror. The slurs, faggot, pervert, spat like venom, the first blows raining down, Logan's hand slipping from his in the chaos. I grabbed that brick because it was fight or die, he said, meeting Hale's gaze. I've never hated anyone for who they are. But they hated us for existing. The gallery applauded, overruled by the judge, but it fueled him. Patel paraded witnesses. A bartender who'd seen the trio pounding shots earlier, slinging anti-gay barbs. Ethan's boss, tearful about his kind heart. Even a psychologist on queer trauma, linking it to rising attacks. Closing arguments peaked like a crescendo. Hale thundering about law and order. Patel pleading for truth in a world quick to erase queer voices. The jury, 7 women, 5 men. A rainbow of backgrounds retired at noon. Deliberations stretching into evening. Ethan waited in lockup, pacing like a caged panther. Mom's rosary beads clicking in his pocket. A relic from her Catholic youth. Now his talisman. Hours ticked by. Pizza deliveries for the jury. Coffee runs for guards. Then, the call. Verdict in. The room hushed as the foreman stood. Paper rustling. On the charge of assault with a deadly weapon. We find the defendant. Ethan's heart hammered. Vision tunneling. Logan's empty seat in the back mocked him, gone. But his lie lingered like smoke. Not guilty. The words hung. Disbelieving. Then erupted. Cheers. Sobs. Bodies surging forward. Ethan collapsed into Patel's arms. Mom's wail piercing the din. Reporters scrambled, cameras flashing. Outside, rain had cleared to stars, San Francisco's skyline a glittering promise. But victory soured fast. As deputies uncuffed him, a shadow detached from the hallway wall. Logan, disheveled, eyes hollowed by weeks of whatever hell he'd fled to. His parents in Santa Cruz, whispers said, conservative holdouts who'd never warmed to their son's phase. Ethan, Logan breathed, stepping close, scent of familiar cologne cutting through the courthouse stale. Congratulations. You were right. About everything. Ethan froze, the old pull warring with fresh scar tissue. Right? You perjured yourself. Logan. Sold me out to save your ass. For what? So the world wouldn't see you loving a man. Logan's face crumpled, hands reaching then falling. I panicked. The DA cornered me, said they'd charge me as an accessory if I didn't cooperate. My folks. They flew in, preaching fire and brimstone. I thought if I distanced, it'd blow over. But I couldn't stay away. I watched the trial from the back, every day. Seeing you up there, so strong. I hate myself. You should, Ethan said, voice steel wrapped in velvet. But his resolve cracked, tears spilling. 3 years wasn't erased by months of pain. It lingered in muscle memory, in the phantom weight of Logan's head on his pillow. They talked, raw, ragged, In the courthouse cafe over stale coffee, Logan's apologies a torrent. He'd confessed to Patel post-testimony, recanting in a sealed affidavit that the jury never saw, too late to undo the damage but enough to haunt his nights. "I betrayed us," he admitted. "But if you'll let me, I'll spend forever making it right." Ethan studied him, the freckles, the earnest eyes, the man who'd once been home. Forgiveness wasn't a light switch. It was dawn after endless night, slow and tentative. "Maybe," he said finally. "But not tonight. I need to breathe alone." Logan nodded, slipping a key into Ethan's hand. Their apartment, sublet voided. "Whenever you're ready." I waited. Outside, Mom enveloped him in lavender-scented hugs, Sister snapping victory selfies. The Castro beckoned, bars pulsing with life, rainbows defiant. Ethan walked alone that night, fog whispering secrets, the city's heartbeat syncing with his own. Betrayal had scarred him, but survival had forged something unbreakable, a queer heart, resilient as the Golden Gate in gale winds. Months later, Ethan stood on that rooftop, city sprawled below like a lover's promise. Logan waited by the railing, tentative smile blooming as Ethan approached, not rushing, but closing the gap. Their kiss was slow, tasting of salt and second chances, the eagle tattoo on Logan's arm a reminder inked over old wounds. Always, be forgiven. In San Francisco's endless reinvention, they rebuilt therapy sessions in the hate, brunches with activists who'd become family, Ethan's promotion to lead copywriter scripting campaigns for queer nonprofits. Logan designed murals for the Castro alleys, vibrant protests against hate. The brick, buried metaphorically in group shares, a talisman of what they'd overcome. And on quiet nights, as fog rolled in soft as a blanket, Ethan would trace Logan's ribs, whispering truths they'd both feared. Love wasn't flawless, but it was fierce, unbreakable, even after the fall. But wait, not every story ends in neon glow. Derek Harlan walked free on a plea, his boys scattering like roaches. Whispers of retaliation lingered, shadows in the alley where it began. Ethan slept lighter now, Logan's arm a shield, but the world outside remained a minefield. One crisp autumn evening, as leaves skittered across Dolores Park, package arrived at their door. Anonymous, brown-wrapped, postmarked from Oakland. Inside, a single photo, grainy, time-stamped that fateful night. Ethan and Logan mid-kiss, then the trio emerging, faces clear, Derek's eagle tattoo stark under streetlight. A note, typed, "I saw. Couldn't speak then. Truth now. A friend in the dark." The witness. The words they'd feared. It was them. "Not you." Ethan's hands shook as he dialed Patel. "No. The DA's tip line." Logan wrapped around him from behind, breath steadying. "It's over," he murmured. Really over, but Ethan knew better. Truth didn't erase scars. It illuminated them, making healing possible. They framed the photo, not the violence, but a candid from the park that day, laughing under oaks. A reminder. They'd survived the storm, emerged not unbroken, but beautifully mended. In the city by the bay, where bridges spanned chasms and rainbows arched after rain, Ethan and Logan's story became legend, whispered in bars, etched in murals. The lovers who fought back, not with bricks, but with unrelenting heart.